Hey, everybody. I decided to go live after the Detroit Lions have just ended the Green Bay Packers season. Wow. I didn't think it was going to happen. I got to be honest with you. I didn't think it was going to happen, but the Lions did it. They beat the Packers, and the Packers have been eliminated from the playoffs. Oh man, what a night! What a great night. Fan Express line part two here, basically. It's just me, as far as I know, unless we get some other takers here. But the Minnesota Vikings getting a little bit of revenge after the debacle from last week as the Detroit Lions nicely dethroned the Green Bay Packers and let them watch the postseason from their couches. And as the speculation began about Aaron Rodgers and what is next for him, possibly retirement, which would be great, and would also possibly be, or at least could very well be, his final game in Green Bay. So, oh man, isn't this just great? The Packers eliminated from the postseason. Like I said, I didn't think it was going to happen because I didn't think that the NFL was going to let it happen. But I don't know. It's this game kind of makes you have to think about maybe it's the NFL's not rigged now because the Packers. You would think if the NFL was rigged, the Packers would have been in the playoffs, right? Right? You would think. They didn't make it. Thank the Lord. Thank the Seattle Seahawks and the Detroit Lions for letting this happen tonight. It was great. Love every second of it. I am very excited. And by the way, the Minnesota Vikings are going to be playing next Sunday afternoon. We just found that out. And so, yeah, next Sunday afternoon, Chris Thomason of the St. Paul Pioneer Press, he tweeted out that the Vikings will be playing the Giants next Sunday at 3:30 in the afternoon. So it's not a Monday game. It's not a Saturday game for the Vikings. It is a Sunday afternoon 3:30 kickoff for the Vikings and the Giants next week. So that is what's coming up for the Vikings next week. So yeah, so I was talking with my folks earlier. I said, the Minnesota Vikings, the most ideal thing for the Vikings would be as if they would play on Saturday and that the 49ers would play on Sunday. So the Vikings would actually have a little bit more rest. But, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal probably, but never know. But, yeah, it's that would be for next week, assuming the Vikings would win, of course. But, man, I am just so excited that the Packers lost. It is interesting, though, to think about the future of the NFC North, because as I've said before, I think that the Vikings and the Packers are in really tough spots in terms of cap space going forward. So I am very interested to see if the Vikings and Packers can keep being competitive in this division that has two teams in the Bears and the Lions that could very well take over the division in the next year or two, because not necessarily because those teams are world beaters now, but the Lions almost made the playoffs this year, and they've got a lot of young players, a lot of young talent on that team. And going forward, if they can get some key free agents and if they can make the right draft picks, the Lions are going to be a team to be heralded in this division and potentially in the NFC. especially with what we're seeing in the NFC right now. There's about 3 teams that are good, really good, I should say, and that, you kind of look at like, okay, that team could go and win a Super Bowl. There's probably about 3 of those in the NFC right now. And the future maybe isn't as bright for some of them either. So, but yeah, so that does concern me for the future of the Vikings a little bit with the Lions and Bears in the next maybe not next year yet. Lions more so probably next year than the Bears, but going forward, it's going to be interesting to see if the Vikings. I think the Vikings really after this year, and I think going into next year, and then obviously next offseason as well. Not this offseason, but the following. It's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do personnel-wise. They're going to have to rebuild this thing because they have a lot of aging players on defense. They have a lot of aging players on both sides of the ball, but mainly on defense. Offensively, really the oldest 2 guys are Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen. And then the rest of the guys are pretty well young. So, the Vikings, it'll be interesting to see. So, looking at the matchups for the Vikings going into the next week, the matchups that are possible for the Vikings if they beat the Giants would be the San Francisco 49ers, or it would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because if it was I should say this. They could end up playing Dallas if San Francisco loses to Seattle. So it'll be interesting to see that. So yeah, if the Vikings beat the Giants next week and the 49ers win, then the 49ers would host the Vikings. Then if the 49ers somehow lost to the Seahawks, which I don't see happening, but anything's possible, I guess. It is Brock Purdy, who's, a rookie quarterback, Mr. Irrelevant, all that. But he's been playing well. But will that hold up in the playoffs is the next question. But, hey, Paul, appreciate you getting in here. Just thought I'd go live and celebrate and talk about my thoughts a little bit about the Vikings postseason situation. Again, they are going to be playing, by the way, next week. And it is a 3:40 p.m. kickoff for the Vikings and Giants next Sunday. The Saturday games are Seattle and San Francisco, Chargers and Jacksonville. And then it's Sunday, Miami, Buffalo, New York, Minnesota, Baltimore, Cincinnati on Sunday night, and then Dallas at Tampa on Monday night. So those are the super wild card weekend matchups. I'm excited, man. I am so excited for the postseason. I'm excited to see the Jaguars and Chargers game. That should be a fun matchup. 2 young quarterbacks. I think the Chargers should win that game, but the Jags have been playing well. They're kind of dangerous right now. I think that's probably one of the best matchups I'm looking forward to from the whole weekend. I could see a lot of the other matchups not being that close. Maybe Dallas and Tampa will be. Dallas could end up losing that game, actually, if Tampa Bay's defense shows up and Tom Brady does enough, which, boy, that'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be just interesting if Tampa Bay ends up in there and the Vikings, and then Tampa Bay would go to Philadelphia, assuming the 49ers win against the Seahawks. But that could be interesting if somehow San Francisco slips up in that first round. But yeah, give me your thoughts on the Packers season coming to a close. Isn't it just nice? It's just, to me, the funniest part about this whole thing is the Packers had hope. They had hope. They went on this big streak. Oh, Rodgers, we're running the table. He's been talking in press conferences. Here we are. What are you going to do? Well, we're going to lose in the final week of the season to the Detroit Lions and miss the playoffs. That's what we're going to do. And boy, does it feel great to see the Packers lose to the Lions. If it wasn't us that beat the Packers, it's almost better that we do it, that the Lions did it. So we kind of gave them hope, like, oh boy, the Packers are hot. They just killed the Vikings. Yeah, now if they make the playoffs, watch out for the Packers. Oh, they didn't make the playoffs. And now the Seattle Seahawks are in, which I don't think they're getting past Seattle, or they're not getting past themselves, or the 49ers. But it's going to be interesting to watch some of these games. I think the divisional round is going to be fun, especially. But yeah, it's I see Paul laughing, but it is just hilarious. We gave the Packers hope. All right, yeah, the Packers are back. The Pack is back, baby. All right. We just defeated the Vikings, who have been so good this whole year, and it's like, all right, now all we got to do is win and we're in. And you can even just hear it at the end of the game. I don't know if you heard it at the end of the game. Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, and it was just like the whole NBC crew was just devastated. Like, the Packers lost. What do we do? We didn't expect this. It's like, what do we do? It's just so great. It's like the NFL had it scripted for Green Bay to win, and they still couldn't do it. And I just love every second of it. Oh man, watching Rodgers walk off, kind of almost looking like he's crying. Oh man, great stuff. I just love the Packers' demise. It is one of the greatest tragedies, and I mean that in a good way, of all time, to watch. And the Vikings may have lost to him last week, but like I said, it makes this even sweeter to me. So but like I said, I am a little worried about the Lions and the Bears in the future. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future with those two teams in this division, because, like I said, they have a lot of young talent, and both of those teams do. Both of those teams have draft picks and capital to spend in free agency coming up, especially the Bears in terms of free agency money. But so those two teams, interesting to watch after maybe not next year, but the next 5 years or so. I could see those two teams having some pretty good seasons and maybe a playoff push or two in there. But any other thoughts, you guys go ahead and put in the comment section. I just wanted to make a video quick. I just had to go live. I'm so excited the Packers lost, man. It's just so sweet to have a postseason without freaking Rodgers and the Packers, and just get so sick of it all the time. And the media just loves Rodgers and all this stuff. And it's like, no, get out of here. We're done. I wanted Brady out too, to be fair. I wanted Brady out. I wanted a postseason without Brady or Rodgers, but I don't think the NFL or Fox would have liked that too much. But that's just another story for another day. How sweet it is. Hey, make sure to go ahead and like this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not already. Follow us on social media at Skol Purple Pod, and appreciate that. Again, the Minnesota Vikings, by the way, they are going to be hosting the New York Giants next Sunday afternoon at 3:40. And as I mentioned, the postseason games, Saturday, San Francisco hosting Seattle, 3:35 on Fox. Chargers against Jacksonville, 7:15. I'm doing Central Time on NBC. 12:05, Miami against Buffalo. 3:40, Giants, Vikings. Baltimore, Cincinnati next Sunday night. And then next Monday night, it's Dallas at Tampa Bay for super wild card weekend. So there you have it. And looking forward to watching the Vikings hopefully win multiple games in the postseason. Like I said earlier, I'm a little skeptical on how far they can go or will go, but they're in the dance. They're in the dance. So you never know. You never know. They play the games for a reason, right? So we'll see what happens. And make sure to be watching our YouTube channel here this week. We will hopefully have more content, first of all, and then also hoping to get Dash from the Big Dash Knows podcast. We had him on to preview the Giants game a couple of weeks ago. And so looking forward to having him on this week to talk about the game again. Here we are again. I thought we were going to be talking with the Commanders. I was thinking the Commanders were going to beat the Giants a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden, here we are with the Giants again. So I do like the matchup for the Vikings, but we'll talk about that more, hopefully with Dash next year or next week or this coming week. Geesh. I'm just loving the Packers' demise so much. I'm losing my train of thought. But anyways, thanks for joining me. And as always, Skol Vikes, baby!